And we're going to be doing the even ones. And when you do the shading, I want you to do it lightly. And you'll see why, because on section 6.6, it's all about the overlap piece. Okay, you're going to shade, and the overlap piece, that's what you really want to shade. So let's go to number 2, and let's thoroughly explain number 2. First of all, these are so easy that some people get confused. Now, what do I mean by that? This is simply a letter and a number. Y is greater than 2. Well, first of all, when you have a letter and a number, do you guys remember how to graph those? It's either going to be a vertical line or a horizontal line. Okay? If it's Y, and let's go back to the easy one. Let's go back to the equation. If it were Y equals 2, what does that really mean? That means you go to the Y-axis, you go to the value of 2, you put a dot there, and then you draw a line through it, right? Now, if you want to think, oh, why do I do that? Because if you went to an XY table and you put a bunch of 2's for Y, because it says Y equals 2, the X's, it doesn't matter. You can put 0, 1, 2, and if you did go to the coordinate 0, 2, you get right there. If you go to 1, 2, you get right there. If you go to 2, 2, you get right there. So as you can see, it's going to be a line that's running left and right. Now again, if it has a solid line underneath it, it will be a solid line, but it doesn't, so it's not going to be solid. It's just going to be a bunch of dots, right? Everybody with me? Now, the next part is, besides if it's solid or dotted, we already did that, is it above or is it below that blue dotted line? It's above, so I shade in, and now right here, do this one lightly. Everybody lightly shade. Just a couple of lines or do a really light shade. Really light shade. I can't really change the lightness, but let's graph the other one now. The other one, it says x is less than negative 2. So you go to the x-axis, you go to negative 2. Here's negative 2 on the x-axis. You're going to draw a vertical line this time through it. And is it going to be a solid line or a dotted line? Dotted. So it's going to be a dotted line going right through these guys. And now I need to shade again, either one side or the other. Now, it's kind of weird because we're used to looking at Y all the time. And Y, if it's above, it's greater. If it's below, it's less. Now we're looking at X's, which is the same deal, but you got to think about the X's here. Which way is greater? This way or this way? To the left or to the right? To the right, right? To the right is greater, to the left is less. So which way do we want to go?
Down. No.
Less, which is to the left. Now, keep in mind, guys, when it's Y, yeah, greater than's up, less than's down. But when it's X, greater than is this way, less than is this way. So if let's say X is less than negative 2, you want to shade the left side of negative 2. So you shade in this side lightly of that red line. Now the real thick shading part is the overlap piece, which is this nice square right here. This is what you really need to shade in. So if you look at the back side on your solutions, you're only going to see this box. They're not going to show you the rest of it because this is the only thing that matters. This is the only area, and this is an infinite area because it keeps going this way. This whole area up here is the solution that will work for the entire system of inequalities. If you picked 0, 0, it would not work for any of them. If you pick the coordinate like 0, 5 or 0, 4, that'll work only for the blue equation, which is the top one. But if you pick anyone in this really dark shaded area, it'll work for both. So we're trying to find the answer to the system of inequality that works for both. That's why we shade in the overlap piece. That's what matters. Let's go to the next even question, number 4. Let's graph this guy. How do I graph? Well, I'm going to do the top one in red. How do I graph that guy? I go to the x-axis. I go to the value of 2. I draw a vertical line through it. Now, is it going to be a solid line or a dotted line? Dotted. Okay, dotted line right through it. Now, it doesn't say Y. It says X. So in terms of X, do I want to shade in the left side or the right side? The left. Because it says less. Does that make sense? It says X is less than. Which way is here's X. Which way is less than? It's this way, right? Here's 0. Here's -1, -2, -3. right? So if it's saying that x has to be less than 2, here's 2 on the x. Which way is less than? Is it over here where 3 is at? No, it's to the left. So you're going to be shading in the left side.
You know you can make the shading lighter?
Yes, I could. Now let's graph the other one. The other one's not even ready to graph. The other one is in standard form. Let's get it in slope-intercept form by adding x and rewriting that bottom equation to be y all by itself less than or equal to, because you didn't multiply or divide by a negative, positive x plus 2, which means that the slope is 1 over 1. So this blue inequality crosses the y-axis at the b value of 2. Now from that point, I am going to rise 1, run 1, all the way through. Rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1, and I'm going to use that pattern backwards. And now we need to shade in either above this blue line or below this blue line. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Before the shading, is it a solid line or a dotted line?
Solid.
Solid. And now we shade in either above the solid line or below the solid line. What do you guys say?
Below.
Below, right? So less than is below. Shade in below. Now light shade. Over here's the overlap piece. This is where you're going to really start shading in the overlap piece. So if you have different colored pens, that's probably the best way to do it. You could do the overlap piece and really shade that in. If you just have a pencil, just make sure you go light over here, light over there, really dark right here. And that's what they have on the back side on your solutions. Let's go to number 6. These are both in standard form, which you could do x and y intercepts, but I want to go back to slope-intercept form. So plus x, well, let me go to the top one in red. Plus x, rewrite it, y is greater than positive x plus 4. So number 6 crosses the y-axis at the value of 4, which is right here. From that point, I'm going to go up 1 over 1 because that's my slope value. So up 1 over 1 would get me right here to the edge. Let me keep it in red. I want to use that pattern backwards to go all the way this way. So is it a solid line or a dotted line? Dotted. Okay, so you could put a couple more dots between the dots. I need to shade either the top part of this red line or the bottom part of this red line. What do you guys say? Above, right? Because it's greater than. So let's shade in the top part, the above part. So when you shade in above, go lightly, because remember the dark shading is where the overlap is at. Okay, now the bottom one, I want to do in blue. Again, I'm going to subtract x. Y is greater than negative 2. I'm sorry. Y is greater than negative x plus 2, which means that the slope is negative 1 over 1. So it crosses at 2, and you're going to go down 1 over 1. You're going to go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, and keep going. Use that pattern backwards, and you'll go up here. Is this one solid or dotted? Dotted also? Okay, so you can put some more dots between the dots if you want. You don't have to. Now you either shade in above the blue line or below the blue line. Above. So lightly shade in above. Now you really want to get dark where it overlaps. So where does it overlap? Bless you. In this little triangle up here. This is the overlap piece. So if you're ever drawing an answer, make sure that we could see that the sides are actually dotted. If they are dotted, that is. Let's jump to number 8. Number 8's cool because it's already set in slope-intercept form. So let's go with the top equation in red. Top equation, or inequality, I should say inequality instead of equation, crosses the y-axis where? At 2. And then from there, what's my slope? My slope is down 1 over 1. So let's go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, all the way through. Use that pattern backwards. Is this top red equation is it a solid line or a dotted line? Solid, because it has a solid line underneath it. So let's go solid line. And the bottom one, we're going to go on blue. The bottom one crosses where? This blue one. Negative 2. What do I do from that point? Up 2, right 1, up 2 over 1. So let's put a dot right there. And continue to go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Is the bottom one dotted or solid? Dotted. So let's put some dots between the dots. Oh man, I totally forgot to shade in. Nobody stopped me. That's horrible. Okay, so let's go back to the red one, which is this red line. Do I shade in above or below the red line? Above. So let's lightly shade in above because we don't know where the overlap piece is at yet. And now let's go to the blue line. And am I going to shade in above or below the blue line? Below. So lightly shade in. But once you get to the overlap piece, that's where you could start darkening it up. And the overlap piece is right here. Check it out. So if you look at the answer on the back, you're going to see a dotted side like this, dotted. Then you're going to see a solid like this, and you're going to see this shaded. That's what really matters right there. Let's jump to number 10 and 12. It says write a system of inequalities for each graph. Okay, so what we need to do is be able to create an inequality for this solid red line right here. So what's the B value? That's easy. What's the B value on that red one?
-2.
Actually, it's +2, right? From the origin, the red one, it's up here +2. Now, what's the slope? Up 1 over 1. Up 1 over 1. So the slope right there is 1, or just 1 over 1. So let's also ask this. Where's the shading with regards to this y equals mx plus b equation in red? Is it above or below? Below. Now, is it a solid line or a dotted line? Solid, so I need a solid line underneath it. And it's y equals mx plus b. The m is 1, the x, and then the b is 2. So there's your inequality. Y is less than or equal to 1x plus 2, or you could just leave it y equals x plus 2. Now let's make another inequality for this blue equation that's obviously shaded above. There's going to be an inequality. So again, what's the b value on this blue one right here? What's the b value? -3. So right here on the side, I'm going to put b equals -3. And how about the slope? It's up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So the slope is also 1 over 1, which is just 1. So let's write an inequality for this blue one. You're going to put y equals mx plus b, but instead of the equals, it's an inequality. Is it above or below? It's above. So what symbol am I putting? Greater than or equal to, because it is solid. And now the mx plus b, it's just a 1x minus 3. So this is your system of inequalities. I'm teaching it because it's good to know, but I'm letting you know right now, I believe I'm not going to put this on the test on Monday. Okay? But you do need to be able to graph them like up here and shade correctly. I will be putting these on the test. I don't think I'll be putting these. Let's do this last one. Let's do this red one first. This red line. The slope, or actually the y-intercept, the b value is 1. And the m is also up 1 over 1. So that's just 1 as well. And are we shading above or below this red line? Above. So greater than or equal to, because this is a solid red line. And the m is 1, so 1x plus b plus 1. And the other equation we're going to do in blue. Now this is a dotted line, and it crosses the y-axis at 1. It doesn't have a slope. You could say the slope is 0. It crosses the y-axis at 1. So is this shaded above or below the blue dotted line? Below. So let me go y below. I do not put a solid line underneath it because it's not a solid line, but I did shade below. and then it's 0x plus 1, but you don't need to put a 0x. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but it's really just going to be y is less than 1. So your system of inequalities on number 12 is y is greater than or equal to x plus 1, and y is less than 1. This is your system right here for number 12. So I've explained all the even ones. I hope you guys could go back and do all the odd ones. If you need help with the odd ones, there will be a video for it uploaded to Edmodo and to my YouTube channel.